Hi, I'm Dr. Tang Yi. I'm the Associate Dean of Learning and Teaching for the Faculty of Engineering and Science. This presentation is about academic integrity here at Curtin University. This is the outline of my presentation, including why is academic integrity important, how do you breach academic integrity, forms of plagiarism, levels of plagiarism. The interesting one will be penalties, and then a little bit about Turnitin and some quick examples. Okay, so why do you need to know about academic integrity? Well, we have 5 core values. It's integrity, respect, courage, excellence, and impact. So integrity includes honesty, trust, and also fairness. So this applies to both academic staff as well as students. So for academic staff, we've got to be honest in our research and in dealings with staff and also students. Students got to be honest with yourselves and with others in your personal ambition, your study, and also in your assessments. So actually, your student charter states that you are to uphold principles of academic integrity, recognize that cheating, plagiarism, and fabrication or falsification of data are not acceptable. More importantly, academic integrity is important because you got to think about your reputation and conscience. And the pictures here, they illustrate what it can do to your reputation, what it can do to your conscience. They are quite silly, but actually quite funny. And also, we are very, very serious about academic misconduct. Yeah, we have a rigorous process for dealing with academic misconduct and plagiarism. The penalties may be severe and it could result in delay in your study or worse. So how is academic integrity breached? A breach of academic integrity can include the following. It can be cheating in exams, mid-semester exams, quizzes, assignments, and so on, interfering with the learning of others, as well as plagiarizing. And I've got a definition for plagiarizing there in blue, presenting the work of another person as your own, right? So that's plagiarism. Okay, these are forms of plagiarism. It can be too closely paraphrasing sentences, paragraphs, or ideas. Submitting your own previously submitted work. You can plagiarize yourself. Submitting work produced by someone else, claiming authorship for it, including reproducing all or parts of another student's work, including previous students. So the ones with the pink arrow, these are very, very common here in Curtin Miri. Okay, so students usually closely paraphrase sentences. They're maybe not very good with paraphrasing, so they don't do enough of it. The other one is maybe taking another student's work and calling it your own, including previous students. Let me tell you, Turnitin has a repository of the work that is submitted to it. It includes works from previous students, so be careful. Okay, some other forms of plagiarism include copying works from published, unpublished work, lecture notes, the internet. This is very common again. Copying creative work from sources like photos or images, video, designs or ideas, or computer programs without due acknowledgement. Photos and images are very common. Computer programs in the Faculty of Engineering and Science, also very common. And in group work, maybe collaborating too closely on work intended to be completed individually. We have a special term for that. It's called collusion. Also happens very frequently. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about collusion. So it says that when 2 or more people act with the intention to deceive an assessor as to who was actually responsible for producing the material submitted, this is actually collusion. This can happen when you assist another student, yeah, to complete the assignment. Sharing of work via social networking between students or also past students is also collusion. Let me tell you that this happens frequently in Miri. We hear of things like, it's my work, but we discussed and worked on it together. This is very common. I think students like to discuss and talk about the assignments and things like that. There is nothing wrong with that, and we encourage you to discuss with your friends and classmates. However, the way that everyone presents their work is different. So there should not be any excuse or any reason that two students would submit the same work. I mean there's nothing wrong for you to discuss, but the way that you present the outcome of your discussion should be different. So please take note of that. Moving on to levels of plagiarism here at Curtin. We've got 3 levels, as you may know very well, so I'm going to go through one by one. Level 1, this is perceived to be due to a student's inexperience with academic writing or presentation of academic work or referencing or acknowledging sources. So for level 1, the student must meet the new to Curtin criteria. So how do you qualify for new to Curtin? You got to complete less than 50 credits at Curtin, or you haven't completed the designated unit within the course where information about academic integrity is provided. Previously it was EFPC, now I think it's called EFDPC, and you have been enrolled in less than 2 study periods. So in general, level 1 only applies to engineering first year students in their first semester. Okay. For level 2, we consider this academic misconduct. So if you have a level 2 case, you have an academic misconduct in your record. Okay, so student conduct considered dishonest and unfair in connection with their academic work, poor understanding of academic integrity, where adequate knowledge would be expected, apparent intent to plagiarize, but the effect or consequence does not significantly compromise the assessment, and it is relatively minor plagiarism. So in general, minor plagiarism where the outcome is not as serious, the results of the plagiarism does not affect the work so seriously, we consider that level 2. Okay, so if you do not qualify for new to Curtin, you go to level 2 immediately. Okay, level 3 is the most serious. Of course, it is academic misconduct. Student conduct is considered dishonest and unfair. An overall effect or consequence of the plagiarism compromises the assessment process. So this is major plagiarism, includes all of the following: work obtained from another person, identical or very close to your own or another student's work, large sections copied from other sources presented as your own without citation or referencing. Okay guys, I have an example here and I want you to think whether this is plagiarism. Okay, so there's this person called Andy. He submitted a poorly written essay. It's unconnected paragraphs, copied from the internet without summarizing, interconnecting the ideas, presenting them in his own words. There are some in-text citations, but they are incorrect. Many sentences are obviously copied without acknowledgement. References are not presented according to format. Andy has completed 1 semester. He's completed 1 semester, so he has 100 credits. So what do you think, guys? Plagiarism? Well, he does not meet the new to Curtin criteria, so if investigated, yeah, it would be plagiarism. Yeah, it will be at least a level 2. So Andy actually needs help to develop his writing skills, particularly with paraphrasing and also referencing. All right, we've come to penalties for plagiarism at Curtin. This is the juicy part of my presentation. So I'm going to go through level by level. So let's start with level 1. This is the new to Curtin criteria, right? New students. So the students will be calling for a chat. We want to make sure that you have access to writing and referencing conventions. Usually this is taught to you in the engineering first year, but we want to make sure that you have all these materials available. You'll be given an opportunity to practice these conventions by correcting your work. You may also receive a score of 0. So just because it is level 1 doesn't mean that there is no price to pay. Okay, so you could get a score of 0. Next, level 2. Remember, level 2 is considered academic misconduct. So a case has to be opened up and it has to be investigated by the authorized officer who is the head in Bentley or in Perth. And this head will be assisted by an inquiry officer. And guys, I'm happy to inform you that in MIRI, we have some inquiry officers. Yeah. So for mechanical and civil and construction students, the IO, or the inquiry officer, will be myself. For computing students, the IO is Dr. Ling Ho Chong as of currently. The IO for engineering first year students will be Dr. John Lau. Okay. Other students will fall under Professor Bina, who is our Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor. So what happens? Well, basically, you are informed of the allegation in writing, and you'll be invited to respond within 7 days. Okay, so in your response, you can write anything. This is when, anything and anything in the along with the kitchen sink, yeah, that you can write. So this is your opportunity to write. But however, I find that from my experience working on some of the MIRI cases, the students don't tend to write. I do not know why. But anyway, this is your opportunity. So the AO will then submit a report to the faculty student disciplinary panel, which will decide on the penalty. Okay, so basically the IO will carry out the investigation and inform the findings to the AO. So the AO will then convey those findings to the SDP, who will decide on the penalty. And the penalty can include all of these things, yeah, a warning, repeat the assessment but with a reduced mark, or no repeat, just automatically a reduced mark, or even 0 mark, right, for the assessment. And in addition, you may be required to do all of those things, yeah, plagiarism recognition test, counseling, short course on academic writing, or other forms of remedial advice. Okay, so you can see it's quite troublesome, so try to avoid it. Let's talk about level 3, and level 3 comes with severe penalties. Yeah, so it can include the following: 0 mark for the assessment, and this is the best case scenario, an ANN grade or an annul grade for the unit in which academic misconduct occurred. An annulment just means that whatever you've done for this unit is voided. Yeah, so it doesn't count, it disappears, it's not in your records, so you've got to repeat that unit. That's not too bad, right? Suspensions of rights and privileges of the student. So this could include things like exclusion from attending classes, exclusion from enrollment in any units. So it's like a suspension. Also not too bad, but not very, very good. Next one, prohibited from being admitted to any course. You can't be admitted to any course, so that's quite bad. Next one, termination from the course. This will stick, this will appear on your transcript. So, there's some black and white, there's some evidence, also not good. Next one, expulsion from the university. This is where you are expelled. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of students think that we have we keep a score of our grievances against the students, like a black mark. So if I'm not happy with so and so, oh, this person has made a black mark in my record, so I will I will forever be not happy with this student. I'm always here to tell you that we do not do such things. We are professionals, okay? So there's no such thing as a black mark. But I can tell you that if you are expelled from the university, guys, this is a black mark. Okay, because if you move on to the next university, they look at your records, questions will be asked. Okay, and the most scary one is the withdrawal of credit for a completed unit, or rescission or withholding of any award. So if you have completed the unit, or even if you have completed your course and graduated and moved away from Curtin, if we find that there is still plagiarism, we can actually withdraw your credits, meaning just take away the credits that you have completed. So you got to, if you want to continue, you have to repeat. Or the worst one is to have rescission on your award. We can take back your degree. That's scary, right? So please note that this plagiarism thing is with you forever. Okay, because we can take back your degree. Moving on to Turnitin, I'm sure you know what is Turnitin. So most submissions now require submission to Turnitin. It's very powerful. It searches for matches across the internet and its database. Let me tell you that this includes submissions for the same assignment from previous years. So as I said, plagiarism is usually triggered by high similarity percentages. This is how the whole case usually starts. But let me tell you that we are professionals. We don't only look at the number, we will look at the content, and we do not make a judgment based on percentages only. Okay, because some of the percentages can come from things like the table of contents, the references, and things like that. Okay, so we will actually look into the work and not just make a judgment based on the number. Okay, I have some examples. Look at this. What do you think? Plagiarism? Of course, right? It's beautiful. It's almost plagiarism across the board. Yeah, the colored, highlighted parts are almost more than the unhighlighted parts. Yeah. And this one, I think this is completely plagiarized. Okay, this is completely plagiarized. And if you look at this one, code will also be picked up by Turnitin. Okay, so you can see a lot of similarities that are picked up by Turnitin as well. Okay, this is the highest similarity index I have ever seen, 94%, so quite bad, yeah? Okay, let me give you some advice. When we have a plagiarism case lodged, it takes a long time to process. So the steps are all there. I'm not going to repeat the steps. What I want to explain here is that because of so many steps, it takes such a long time. So as a result, if you have a plagiarism case, sometimes you can't enroll for the following units and so on. So you're stuck in limbo, and this is not a good situation. Okay? Another thing, as IO, when we investigate a case, we have to present the facts. So if I find plagiarism, I cannot say that this is not plagiarism. You understand? So the minimum penalty is that you cannot get your results on time, and this will interfere with your study progress. You cannot complete your studies within the 4 years. Okay? But what about heavier penalties? I want you to think about the following. You do not only waste time, but you also waste money if you need to repeat some courses, right? Think about your reputation with friends and lecturers. If you have a plagiarism case, people may look at you differently, right? And think about your transcript as well. Future employers will see it. Right? If there's a mark in your transcript, questions will be asked. You may not even get a job, right? So it really does affect your future. So please be careful. Now, from my observation, it seems that plagiarism in Mary, you can attribute it to a few reasons. And again, this is just from my observation, okay? Number one, it could be laziness and poor time management. Some students, they leave the work to the last minute. Sound familiar? Number two, inability to complete the work due to lack of understanding. Some students maybe do not understand some of the work that they have to do, so they do make a mess of it. Yeah, they just plagiarize, yeah, and make a mess of it. And number three, maybe trying to do well on the assignment by ensuring that your work is similar to your friends. Yeah, so you want to have, the best possible outcome. So maybe you try to follow whatever your friend is doing. Now in Malaysia, we have a word for that. It's called kiasu. Yeah. Okay, some advice again for you, yeah? So in terms of time management, I want to tell you that last minute work is seldom good. And at best, it is risky. Use your time wisely. It's always good to start ahead of time, right? So proportion your time accordingly. Number two, seek help. If you do not understand something, contact the lecturer, right? Contact the lecturer. We have clinics as well, so if it's possible for you to attend clinics, you attend. So if there are any issues at all, please just talk to us. Number three, I want to talk about your attitude. If you do not understand something, seek the answer until you understand it, right? This is what you should do. Have the willingness to learn and don't worry about being yelled at. Sometimes some of the students, from my perception, seem to be very sensitive. They're afraid of voicing out just because the lecturer is not so happy, doesn't look happy, so that puts them off. don't worry about that, right? Just seek, come try and get what you want until you get it. Yeah. And lastly, trust in your abilities. No need to submit the same work as your friends. You can do it just as well as your friends. Alright guys, I've come to the end. So for further information, please visit that website, yeah? And you can see the student guidelines for avoiding plagiarism. Thank you. Bye.